The old stock market adage is sell in May and go away. That's what the old adage is. But investors didn't live up to that this year, according to TD Ameritrade's May Investor Movement Index, which rose about 8% from April. Joining us now with what investors bought and sold last month, we've got Alex Coffey, who is the TD Ameritrade trading strategist here. Alex, great to have you here with us this morning. All right, so where did we see the most inflows and outflows during the month of May?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me. As you mentioned, you do see investor sentiment upticking by about 8% to 512 for the overall TD Ameritrade client population. But notably, broke a streak of 3 straight months of net equity buying. We actually saw TD Ameritrade clients as net sellers of equities. And so sometimes we'll see that divergence where you'll see the investor sentiment actually increase. But overall, there was net selling when it comes to stocks and the trading involved there. This can be due to increased appetite for things like fixed income, or it can just be the mix of the stocks that were bought being a little bit further out on the risk spectrum. What really stuck out to me, though, for this particular month was how contrarian the buys and sells on an individual name basis really seemed to be.
Yeah, on the sell, particularly on the sell side, Alex, Nvidia being sold, Advanced Micro Devices, DraftKings, which has more than doubled this year. What gives? Were people just trying to take some profits here?
I think it has to be seen that way. I went back and looked at Nvidia in particular. This was one of the most heavily bought names for much of last summer and fall. Of course, when much of the market, particularly the tech side of the market, was struggling. There was a contrarian kind of trying to catch the falling knife, if you will, last summer in many of these names, and kind of steadily throughout their recovery, of which Nvidia, I think, is beyond that now, of course, with a new all-time high, crossing that $1 trillion mark, last week. This has been a staple amongst the sells for the better part of the last 4 or 5 months, really coming to, I think, a bit of a crescendo with the full recovery post that blowout earnings quarter. That revenue guidance was, jaw-dropping in many ways. And I think, many investors who have been involved in these names see this as an opportunity. I mean, a lot of the macro picture, while still murky, I think has been kind of teetering between optimistic and cautious. And I think investors are just using this, as you said, as an opportunity to take some risk off the table in some of these names that have been really, really strong performers. It's not just Nvidia, it's of course AMD as well. Names like Apple, Microsoft, Meta. I really looked at it. Really all of, let's say the top 10 or so names, all of them but American Airlines on the sell side had really, really strong months and have really been strong for 2 or 3 months in a row.
All right, we'll see if there's a diminuendo on the other side of that top end of the crescendo that you mentioned a moment ago. I think for right now, in a lot of the strength as well, you were mentioning travel a second ago. Is there a more concerted mind share or attention that you've been seeing among traders or in retail investors around some of the travel names right now?
A little bit. It's still targeted, though. So like they were net buyers of Disney, for example, but they were net sellers of American Airlines. They were net sellers of Uber, which I think is tangentially kind of associated with that kind of activity. Although an argument could be made that Uber might be more of an AI sympathy play as well, and sort of that tech, high beta aspect. But I think in general, the threads that you can see in terms of where some of the buys were, Tesla, for example, really didn't have a strong few months leading into May. It made, of course, a pretty impressive comeback the last few weeks, but it was down at like 160, 170 the beginning of the month. And so, again, it seems to just be opportunistic buying and then deleveraging, taking risk off in names that have done really well. So trying to compare names like PayPal, and Verizon and Bank of America, which we see on the buys alongside, of course, names like Ford and Tesla and Enphase. The only real key thread between them was underperformance either during the period post-earnings or underperformance leading into May.
Alex Coffey, who is the TD Ameritrade trading strategist. Thanks so much for joining us here this morning with the breakdown of where some of those portfolio movements have taken place. Appreciate it.